Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm looking forward to sharing with you today one of my dear friends, Karin Rose, who has been on the podcast before. She's done a few programs, Mastermind, Date Your Body, and has attended some events. We've known each other for a very long time, like almost 15 years, I think we go back. Soul sister for sure. And I'd love to introduce you to her again. We've got some really fun things to share with you today. So, welcome to the podcast, Karin.
You so much, JJ. I'm so happy to be here.
All right. Well, I'm excited to hear what you have to share because I
And
don't even know what you're going to share. I mean, I was there and I understand what we're talking about, but I wanted to be surprised as well. So, how do you want to set this up?
I don't know. I'm just gonna follow your lead. I don't know. I'm so excited. I have so many things in my mind and my heart that I want to share with everyone. I'm so excited. I don't even know where to begin.
Okay. So, let's start with the most recent thing. You attended the Unleashing Your Manifestation Power event in October in Redondo Beach, California. And while you were there, I believe you got a strong intuitive hit that it was time for you to take a different kind of journey.
Totally. It was very surprising for me, but not that surprising at the same time because every time I go to one of your events, there's a new calling, there's a new evolution, there's a new something that happens within me. And this time, when you were speaking about these different kind of offerings that you have, these sort of one-on-one journeys to sort of commune with Mother Nature and with spirit, with you in a different way. I just knew before I knew the details of it, I'm like, oh wow, the calling is so strong. I have to be a yes to this. And so that's what I did. And I spoke to you just after the event was over, and I knew it was time to do this for me. Yeah.
So, for multiple reasons, we put a little bit of a rush on doing it and scheduled it in November and just completed it about not even 2 weeks ago, I don't think, right? It's barely been 2 weeks. And I know you were wanting to keep this very sacred and special and quiet and internal until you had gone through it and then came out with whatever clarity messages and transformation was ready to be shared. And not too much time after, you're like, okay, I'm ready. So
Yeah, it was like a deeply personal decision at the time. Usually, for people that know me, and you know me, I can be extremely outgoing and very transparent. And this time felt really different because um, I had never done anything like this before. I'm not even a person that, even though this is a sacred journey with Mother Nature, with a mushroom, right? Like a very pure form of medicine journey. I have never done anything like that before. And I'm very much someone over the years that just, not to compare it with a pharmaceutical, but just to say that even for me to take a Tylenol or even to take an herb, it's like a production, right? Like I go to a functional medicine doctor, I get muscle tested, I feel into it. Everything is kind of like a a feeling and a decision to take. So for me to sort of um, have trust that I can do this and that I would actually be okay, that I could actually be even better on the other side of this was pretty enormous for me. And it just felt like I needed to keep it so intimate with me and with you and with my partner. I let him know, but that was it. Like nobody else knew, really.
did you have any inclinations of what you wanted to have happen during it before you did it?
I did. I didn't have like, I did. It was sort of a broad intention because for me, I know that with really big journeys like this, right? Or even like for example, even when I pull a card, let's say if I do cards, always my intention is for spirit or this universal source energy to let me know what it is that I need to know, to kind of show me the way and make it very clear. Like, I don't want any vagueness. And so going into this, I didn't have any like nitty gritty intentions. It was really just, wow, this is a really big deal, and I would like to be shown what it is, Spirit, that you feel I need to be shown to really have a different type of existence here in this incarnation, because I'm ready for it, but I don't know what to ask for right now. So just show me the way. And my God, was I shown.
Yeah. Yeah, you were shown. So we did all the normal things that happens during a ceremony, and I don't know if we want to go into any of the details. I don't know that any of the details for anyone else actually matter unless someone's experienced it. I'd like to go into maybe some of the hesitations that you had, maybe some of the fears that you had going into this.
I think a lot of people could probably relate to what I'm to say. Um, so for me, part of the like the biggest hesitations, not when I finally said yes, like it's my time to do this, but even leading up to it in the years previous, is I have a very difficult time like having trust or faith that, like, in my own existence, right? It for me, in doing what I do in love alchemy and helping so many other people, it's very easy for me to see for other people and to have like an extraordinary amount of trust and faith for others in their journey, because I can actually see and channel that. For myself, it's a completely different story. So for me, growing up, not to get into all the details of childhood, but growing up in an environment, let's say, where I wasn't able to like foster any form of trust or faith as a foundation in my existence, then growing up into my adulthood, there's some like deeply wired programs in there, regardless of like the 25 years of personal or spiritual development that I've gone through in my life. Those threads are still there of like, I don't know that spirit has my back. I don't know if I'm okay in my life. I don't know. I don't feel 100% safe. Abandonment has been very loud in my life because of my childhood, or beliefs of that, right? And also just sort of walking through life at times for myself where I just feel some trepidation. And I thought, man. And so that, I will say this, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, there's some control issues there, right? Like just wanting to control things in my life, even though, I may not seem like a controlling person, but I can feel inside of me like, you know, um, there's just certain ways that I've moved in my life so that I can feel safer, so that I have some semblance of control, or trying to control the environment outside of me so that I'm okay. And so for me, who has some deep-seated fears and need to control certain things, for me to say yes to a journey and where it is literally like 100% relinquishing all semblance of control, all semblance of anything that you think you know on this plane, and say sort of like, here, Mother Nature, here, Source, that I don't even know that I can trust, that you have me, but here you go. Like, take me on this journey. I'll be honest with you. Some moments were a little terrifying.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember, but it's normal, it's natural, especially when you don't know what you're doing. You've never done it before. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen at all. That's very normal fear for anyone to have, whether you have control issues or not. It's to me, for me, and I have different kinds of wounds than you do. So for me, abandonment wasn't a wound. And I don't have sort of the grip there, even though I might present as a control freak, I'm not. Like, I'm like, the minute I really understood the power of what this medicine could do to heal people, I was like, give it. I couldn't find it fast enough. I was like trying to figure out, how can I go get some? What do I do? I need to try it right now. I need to figure this out because I'm ready, and I don't I guess I really don't, I didn't have a fear of death. I don't, but it's something I don't think about. But there are times I'll just dive in head first. And it's not that I don't have hesitation or I'm not kind of curious or a little concerned about what's going to happen. What happens is when I understand what the benefit could be, that outweighs vibrationally, emotionally, energetically any fear that I'm going to have because I'm like, all right, well, I'm never going to know unless I try. I'm never going to have, unless I face it head on. I don't, I could just have fear of the unknown stop me from doing anything. And I know that's a lot of people who don't know what's going to happen. And so they don't do anything and then they stay stuck. And for me, I am definitely very wired to reach for something better and have a very low tolerance for pain, like emotional unnecessary suffering. It's one thing when I'm learning my lessons and I learn my lessons like everybody else does. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I have to repeat the lesson many times before I get different parts of it. But for this particular thing, yeah, I get it, and it is very normal to have some fears. So you had your fears, and what do you want to share about your? Because again, the details for those that haven't done it or haven't experienced it aren't going to be as important or impactful. I think I'd like the highlight reel of some of the messages or some of the surprises of things that you didn't see coming that were, in essence, very impactful and life changing.
There's so many things that I could share. But I think the most profound thing that came out of this for me is that it has literally changed the existential wound that I feel like I've been living with for 55 years of my life. And that is life changing. Because, in my work, I know that many of us humans walking around are living with an existential wound, you know, and for everybody, it's unique. For me, the biggest existential wound that I know I have been living with and have worked decades to kind of unpack and sort of be liberated from, and like taking deep dives and like trying to figure it out. And all of this has been my relationship with source energy. A lot of people call this energy God, whatever you call it, right? Um, and because of the way my childhood was, uh, it's sort of deeply ingrained in me, like with God, with source energy. Like, seriously, like you can't possibly love me. Like, I don't mean to offend anybody, but maybe some people can relate. Sometimes life gets so hard, and I was like, even just as a young person, like there's a betrayal there that happened between like me and spirit or me and God, right? So that is an existential wound. A lot of people don't even know that they have and may not even have an easy time admitting it. So this comes from, like I said, many years of work and deep reflection. And it wasn't the first thing that pinged when I started doing this work, like when I was in my like late 20s or 30, whatever. This is after years of digging and sort of like wanting to know, like having a very sincere seeking spirit. And then I realized, oh my God, this is like the biggest abandonment I felt in my life, right? And then growing up in sort of an organized religion that further embedded, right? That you're only loved if you do, if you behave this way, or if you are this way, if you think this way, or only hang out with these people, you're only loved if you're like in this little box. And then knowing that I didn't fit into that box a little bit, in my mid 20s, I was like, well, that is not for me. So then, of course, that sort of perpetuated or enlarged the question of like, are you there for me, spirit? So that for me, what this journey did is it 100% healed the existential wound that I'd been living with in my life. And I feel like a completely different woman. I feel like a completely different version of myself, knowing without any doubt how incredibly precious and how incredibly loved I am. And that has given me um, so much more access to like truth, so much more access to myself, to my heart. And because of that access, there's a different connection and a different type of relating that I'm having with life and with people. And I don't feel this need to control right now. I don't, I feel much safer in my existence. I feel more of a rootedness. And it's interesting because I feel like this centering within my being, like I'm more here than I've ever been. And I also feel a lightness of being because there isn't that story anymore. There is just truth that, oh my God, like spirit and source energy is so here for me as well. And that is life changing. And I did not know that this was going to happen. There's also been so much like revelation because of the journey, right? There were things with my mother and my father, and just with certain people in my life, and everybody came through so powerfully in this journey. There was so much, there was so much forgiveness, but not forgiveness of like the other, because I'm just a person that really tries very like hard not to blame others, right? It's not my jam to blame other people. So I haven't grown up like blaming my mom and dad for anything or blame, you know what I mean? But what happened in the journey is because I had an opportunity to once again see my parents in a completely different light. It's like there was a do-over, a do-over with my mother, a do-over with my father, a do-over with myself. I found myself in the womb once again. Like there were so many magical and powerful moments. I could go on for hours, but I realized that there was grief that needed to come out that I didn't even know was there. So it was effortless. It just happened. It just released in the most beautiful way. And then the next moment, there was like this like a forgiving, not even in the sense that we know, but to myself. There was so much relief, there was so much openness. And more than anything, once again, I feel like access is very different than walking around. Like people say, I have an open heart. Yes, we can have an open heart. I'm somebody who's walked around with an open heart much of my life, most of the time too open. But that doesn't mean that there's access to that open heart. And so what I learned in this journey too is that there was almost like a veil in front of me that was kind of like sort of a veil that acted kind of like a protective thing or an old barrier of some sort that I didn't know was there, right? Because me, I'm very, I'm emotive, I'm very nurturing, I'm very loving. I give a lot. That's my nature to give. It feels good. But in this journey, what I realized was that because there was this like existential wound with spirit, with God, and when it wasn't there anymore, because there was so much communication with source energy throughout the entire journey, this veil that was in front of me that kept me from receiving in my life, it just after like I think I was in journey for 6 hours or something like that. And after being affirmed and reaffirmed at least 1,000 times by spirit, how precious and how loved I am, and how spirit has always been there for me in every incarnation, at every moment, even when I thought it wasn't, it was. This thing just dissolved that I didn't even know was there. And now my ability to receive is actually there. So now I have a balanced, open heart, and I am by nature a giver and a healer, and the healer can now receive and be healed. So I think that is so, so profound and life changing.
I have to say that your journey, so if just to set the stage for some people, This happens currently on the one-on-one at my home in the Airstream that's in the backyard, that has a full setup of everything that you need, and I'm very intentional about how the whole ceremony and everything goes down, and to what we influence and control, of course. But for you, the one of the reasons why I think you had the kind of journey that you did is because of the work that you've done, because of the connection to your own emotions, because of the connection, because I remember when we were tapping during Date Your Body, which was in 2024, so last year, I remember having sessions around your not feeling God on your side, and I remember, although that had made some shifts, it's like for people that are out there listening to that, and they may not resonate with that right now, but I want everyone to invite, because I do believe that it is something that many, many people share, but do not know is there.
Totally.
People want to make it about their parents or about whatever, but if you've had trauma in which most of us have, but if you've had trauma in your life, and you think it's about your parents, or let's say things aren't going well for you, or you are someone who attracts, lesson after lesson, and you can't kind of come up for air, and Karin's also full of water. She's a Pisces with a Cancer moon, a Scorpio rising, and a lot of other Pisces, which means she's very tuned to her emotions, or can be, and also can be overwhelmed by her emotions, right? Like the balance needs things like earth and things like fire, and the mushrooms provide the balance for the earth, for the grounding, for the physical body, for the dissolution of the human ego and form and connection to what we think this world is supposed to provide for us. And even though Karin is the least ego person I know, ego doesn't mean anything bad. It's just the relationship to who we think we are in this lifetime, and anything around the shame, the worthiness, like that's all ego. And even like the most spiritual people still have egos and that get in the way. And I don't know of another currently faster way to come into this awakening, which is again why when I finally got on board and understood and learned and did some exploring, thought, okay, it's like evoking a near-death experience. You thought you were going to die a couple of times, like for real.
Like 8 times. Yeah. Like eight
Yeah.
times. Yes. Yes.
Even though consciously, mentally, you knew you weren't going to die, it's just the emotion that happens. It's like, when I talk about like the rewire or neuroplasticity, and people probably think I'm joking when, if you're not involved in any of this kind of work, but even the smallest little thing. I mean, it happened with Vesta in the mastermind when she did her first summit, right? Recording her video made her so upset, so nervous, so challenged, so confronted, that it took like 5 days to film a 10-second video. And it was a lot of tears and a lot of struggle. But now she's like, oh, video's easier. Like, right. She had to grow through that. But we think these little things, well, why does this bother me so much? But our subconscious is saying, I'm not safe and I'm going to die. And I'm not kidding. That's literally what your subconscious says. If it's unsafe, the answer is I'm going to die, even no matter what it is. It could be walking across a bridge. It could be doing a new exercise. It could be signing up for a program. It could be dating somebody, going on a dating site. It doesn't matter. The point is that everyone's subconscious makes anything scary catastrophized and says and goes, I'm going to die, because that's all it knows. I'm either safe or I'm unsafe. And if I'm unsafe and I'm going to die, I need to protect myself. So for those of you that are out there and you've struggled with things that, you've done the therapy, you've done the programs, whatever, and you think it's about your relationship with your mother or your father, your grandparents, or an assailant, or a violator, you think it's about that, dig a little bit deeper and ask yourself if you think that it's about your relationship to a higher power. If God has failed you, if you feel that your life has produced pain in a way that you can't imagine a being would ever allow you to experience that, because that's where I think the true healing comes into, especially like for the reason why I started doing this in the first place, which was cancer patients. It was to evoke a near-death experience, so someone could basically have a death experience without dying, to dissolve this fear, the separation of what you and I both know is truth. You never didn't know it. I never didn't know it. I said to Naisha, why would I do it? She said, for validation. And I was like, do I need validation? Well, there's a difference between knowing and embodying. Intellectualizing and conceptualizing is not cellular knowing.
Mhm.
And this brings cellular knowing. If you can, so not everyone's journey is the same. In fact, I just had one recently that was quite the opposite, because it's where we are. It allows. There's no coming into this and saying here, and you knew this, but people that like you can't come and say, well, I want to work on this. Yeah, good luck. You're gonna say, I'm surrendering, and I'm gonna be shown what I need to see, what I'm being called to learn or evolve into, or I'm going to be shown the blocks I have that prevent me from that. And everyone's going to be a little bit different, but yours was amazing for the amount, which wasn't actually as large as everybody else's, because you're so attuned, because you're so already there, and you do allow yourself. See, some people don't surrender to the emotions, which is why a lot of people who are listening to this or watching this, they're scared shitless of crying or being angry. You don't have that problem. You are embrace your emotional spectrum, well, graciously. You're like, oh, bring it on, emotions. I want to feel. That's not, you. But a lot of people don't realize that that is the doorway to releasing the things that are stuck in the body, that our emotions are the reason why we're on the planet in the fucking first place, is we're here to have an experience, and that is all the colors of the rainbow, and all of the, otherwise we wouldn't have incarnated. We would have just stayed pure positive energy, but we came for a reason, and that reason was life experience, which is all of the colors. So so your journey was, I'm giving prizes, not like it's anyone cares, but I'm like, you get the prize for the most talkative. I could not keep up. I was never going to be keeping up with how many conversations you were having with your mother, your father, with God, with everybody else who came to visit you. But it was really fun for me to sit back and just observe and hold the space and be a shepherd to the transformation, and to know that all of those words weren't going to necessarily be that important. I got the gist of as much as I could, but ultimately, you are shown at the right and perfect time your calling. And I want you to speak to this. I'm going to speak to about what you do, what you had a little bit of a pain point about at my event at the last circle, about what's next for you, if you remember, which is kind of another reason what led you to this journey was like, okay, I know that I have a great calling and dharma on this planet at this time. You are built in the way perfectly to serve this planet and us and these people in consciousness in a way that only you, Karin, can do. And I know there were parts of you that were feeling like, okay, haven't stepped into the fullness of that yet. And you begged Source. You said, show me how, show me how. So you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, first I want to say, whether people believe in God or not, whether they believe in a higher power or not, whether they're atheist or whatever it is, a journey like this, I honestly believe, having gone through it now, that it can actually help everyone, everyone, because everything that you know as your identity, which limits us, limits us. What we identify as our identity as humans on this planet is somewhat limiting, right? This identity is filled with programs from childhood and up until today, right? Most things we're learned, we're taught, we're programmed, it's from every angle. When you go into a journey like this, no matter what your spiritual or non-spiritual belief is, you are with truth. You are with truth. Um, you are with light. You are with such a high vibration and a high frequency. You will feel different. You will know something different, and you will absolutely gain something that you didn't have before going into this journey. And if you are a person that knows that there's something more for you, or that something has got to change, or there's got to be something different, or you're just feeling like you need something, you get my drift, what I'm saying, right? JJ's right. There is nothing faster and more effective, in my not just opinion, but in my experience. And I would have never been able to say this had I not gone through the journey myself. Because as I said, I'm one that, I think if you meditate, or what if you get really quiet and just kind of open yourself and feel this connection? That's all amazing, but there is literally nothing like this that will get you there as quick to just sort of, I don't know, I just feel like just so many layers upon layers upon layers upon identities or beliefs or like bullshit has just like just been lifted off of me, like hundreds of pounds of stuff. And now it just feels like it's me and truth right now. And it's amazing, you know? And yeah, as JJ was saying, yeah, you know, I do. So I, I have been, I have been a registered nurse, right, since I was like 20, but I have been psychic my whole life since I was a little kid. And I have been a healer like since I was about, you know, doing like holistic things and energy healing now for over 25 years. And I have known over the years, because the work that I do continues to evolve and evolve and evolve and evolve. And I work with people worldwide, virtually, some in person. And, you know, spirit and the energetics keep growing what I'm doing, growing what I'm doing. And I've been to the point for years now where like I know there's more, there's a fullness that I'm not stepping into. I didn't know how to, but beyond not knowing how to, I was too scared to. And even if I took programs or whatnot to do, like to learn all the steps, I'm like, how do you have a business? How do you do this? How do you do that? Like, I just didn't really follow through on any of it, because there was this underlying, very deeply ingrained belief that, as JJ said, it's like when you don't feel safe, really, it's about like, am I going to die if I do this? And I absolutely believe this. Um, and when I was in journey and I was in conversation with what I would call like this divine being, right? And I remember talking to God and saying, you know, I don't really like calling you God. It's kind of funny. I really like calling you God. There's such a density in this cultural field that has named you God, but you know, you're this, you shall have this spirit who shall be nameless, right? Is very misunderstood. I now know. And when you have an underlying fear that has to do with abandonment or rejection or failure or just insignificant, you know, in life, these are all wounds, right? I had all of them. I don't have them anymore. Then there was a fear there, like, if I step into the fullness of what I'm supposed to be or how I'm supposed to show up for others, to be a mirror for them, to be a mirror for their divinity, and do all the work that channels through me for others, then if I show up and I'm not liked or I'm not received or accepted, or if I don't feel like I'm making a significant impact, then that equals my potential annihilation, right? Because if we're afraid to die, then we're afraid to like not be here anymore. That's annihilation of the physical. That's we're gone. We're like, we're just dust. That's not there anymore. And so I remember in journey asking a lot. I remember many parts of my journey and asking spirit, how do I teach them love? How do I teach them love? Show me the way. I don't know how to do this. And even when I think about it now, how do I teach them love? I fall in love with myself. Being able to say that. And I don't think I've ever been able to say that my whole life. Like to genuinely love yourself, to like feel the falling in loveness with your own being is such a gift. I didn't have that before. But to stand here before you today and say, oh my gosh, my mission is to really teach people love, love, how to embody love, how to be love, how to all the things love. And it can sound so cliche in today's day and age, which is a lot of movements around love and da 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 da, but it feels so different right now. And to have asked, like, universal source energy. How do I teach them love? It's such a sincere ask from my heart and from my being. And the answer that I got was like not a step by step on how to do this, which I really wanted. I really would have liked, that would have been cool. But what I kept hearing was just be a mirror, be the grand reflection of love that you are. Know your divinity and they will know theirs. And that was such a gift. And so through this journey, I don't really feel afraid anymore. Like right now, I'm just thinking of ways like, okay, it's time to maybe create my YouTube channel now. I'm starting to create content. Um, create a TikTok. Why? I'm not a big social media person or never been on TikTok, but that is a huge avenue to reach people. So for me, it's not so much about like, the thing of how, but it's like, how are more people going to get the messages that source energy or the higher frequencies or the ascended masters want to channel through me for you to know the love and the divinity that you are, because it will change your life, for you to know the truth of what you are. And I don't feel afraid anymore. There's little pings of excitement like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this. But it doesn't really have anything to do with, if you don't like me, am I going to die? Because now I know that I'm so loved and I'm so precious, right? By source energy, and for like, you know, that I've never been abandoned, that I've always been loved, that I've always been treasured. And that has changed my existence. And so if someone doesn't, you know, resonate, if there's not a resonance with my message, or if somebody says something, opposing to what I say or what's coming through, it's okay. I'm not for them.
There is such power in that for all of us. I have my 2025 has definitely been a lesson in that for me. So my new mantra is I easily attract the right and perfect clients and opportunities every day. Easily is the main thing here. I easily. That doesn't mean I'm not going to, so it's starting to change my behavior I've noticed. And I want to speak to a couple things. One, how did you know? So for some people, I can only imagine that they have, and for people that have done it, like, oh, well, you're on drugs, you're altered, having this experience. How do we know when it's real? Right. No, I know, but how do we know? Because I'm not trying to convince naysayers at this point. I'm just trying to acknowledge some of the thoughts people have that stop them from moving forward because they'll focus on something that they don't know the answer to, and then basically upper limit themselves. How did you know? And I know the answer to this, but I want you to share when you really understood what had changed in you because of what had happened, how you were responding to life differently.
Well, I know because I feel completely different and I am completely different since the journey. But during the journey, everything is real. It's so tangible. It's just pure truth. There was no, uh, I don't know, there's no feeling of being like high, or like you're just altered and you're blissed out, or it's not that at all. For me, it was extremely tangible. There were moments, I remember you described, the near death experience, right? And I was like, let's see, let's see. But there were at least 8 times that I remember that I literally dissolved. And when it's going to happen, when like you're at a different level and you're having all these different communications, and different, just different everything, a different experience. And then it's like, it's like almost jumping off the next ledge. It's like, and I remember saying to Spirit, I was like, again? It got to be like, again. I'm like, oh my God, this is the 8th time. How many more? And then I remember between each sort of disillusion of what I felt my identity was before going into this, there was, tangible physical feelings like I would get, and not that everybody gets this, but it was for me. I remember into the next disillusion or the next experience, I would get very nauseous and just feel like, oh, here we go, because the vibration was getting higher and higher and higher every time. And I wasn't used to it. I also knew, I saw many different dimensions. I saw many different structures. I was shown so many things that only truth could be shown to you. You know what I mean? It was just like, it all felt like truth. And I was taken even to the point of like the genesis of my existence. Like I was shown everything. And after that, I actually saw like 7 or 8 bright blue, um, like neon, almost like a incredible bright neon blue, like 8 orbs, 8 dots. There were actually, it felt like, and I know that that's what happened. They lit up on this side of my brain, and then I saw all these neural pathways like being lit up, and I've been very different ever since. Like, you know, it's just an incredible experience. It has nothing to do with being altered in the sense of being high, like high on drugs and disconnecting from reality so that you can escape a pain or so that you can numb out.
There's no numbing here.
Which if people want to do that, that's fine. But if you want to do that, that is not what this is. This is you becoming a different version of yourself and living your life differently. It's rapid, it's healing, it's truth, it's powerful. And it will help you, or it helped me have like breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough and just arrived to this new version of myself. This is not being high on drugs. This is being in communion with something that is so incredibly sacred. And this mushroom, this mama mushroom that wants to show you the truth of you and your divinity and show you what you need to be shown for you in your life to, right, to have this liberation that you probably want to have. That's why you're going to do it, right? It's not being high. It's being in communion with love and with truth.
Yeah, for people that don't have any experience, people make assumptions, and there are, to be clear, there are many different forms of mushrooms, of
Yep.
psilocybin. There are some that are focused on keeping your eyes open and you seeing things in front of your face, and that's not what this is. This Malabar is about going inward and dissolving. And I don't know, you don't know this, a couple days last week, before this week started and I had somebody else come, I did a little mini one on my own, which is an experiment in several different ways. Which you get that piece is that I experiment. So I went backwards, which that I've learned now I'm never going backwards again. Like in terms of it was like small, and my expectations were large, but I did a smaller dose, and I used a playlist called Inner Peace that throughout the entire one I literally thought to myself, this is not peaceful at all. Like, I was like, okay, I'm never going to use this playlist again. So I thought, okay, this was a good experiment in uncovering that I never want to use this with anyone because I don't like it. It doesn't resonate. And but it didn't take away the lessons that I learned during the journey. So lessons that I just learned. And so to speak to this mother mushroom that you were talking about, the really cool thing that I had never gotten before was very aware of the intellect, the power, and the interconnectedness of all things on this planet and the root system. Like you were talking about how your neural pathways lit up. I saw underneath the soil light up. I saw the whole planet and all the intricacies of how the mushrooms and the trees and the plants and the root systems control everything and give this planet life and give us life. And it was really cool. I would say that and I want to know if you had a couple themes of lessons, like more than what you've already shared, you're cherished, your love, like any other messages. My main message from this last one, this little mini one, besides don't do this playlist and never go backwards, or not never, but like be intentional. Like don't expect, huge breakthroughs on a small amount when you've gone to 6 and now you're at 3.75. And, but but it was fine. I saw, it was almost like not the fun house, but it was almost like I would see an image. Like they would create an image of something and then it would quickly dissolve and they'd be like, haha, and they'd do another one as if to say, let go because whatever you're attached to is going to go away and dissolve and you're going to be shown something different and new. Like don't get so attached to this thing. Oh, and now it's going to be gone. And like you're not in charge. Like those are my lessons of like you're not in charge. Quit trying to pretend you're in charge. And whatever is happening right now is in this moment and this moment will be gone and there'll be a new thing that happens in its place. So don't get too attached to whatever it is in front of you. And I actually laughed a lot. Like I didn't like laugh out loud, like chuckle so hard, but I'd be like, like I just laughed like they were showing me. Like here they're showing me, don't get attached. I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm too attached. So, but the image of the lighting up of the mushrooms and the root systems underneath the earth was just really comforting and it's almost like there's beings underneath your feet that are supporting you and you don't even know it and they've been here longer than any human and any life form except algae. They've been around on this planet the whole time, like they're supporting us. And so I thought that was really so, I usually get some strong lessons. My 6 gram earlier this year had a lot of like dissolve, dissolve, dissolve lessons and messages. This one was, you're not in charge. Don't get attached. We're here and supporting you every day. And the power that we have in this root system, in this earth is like, give it to us, allow us to support you. Like those are my messages. What would be some of the other messages that you came away with besides that you are divinity, you are loved, you are supported, you are always loved? Anything else?
There was so much, JJ. Those were the big ones. But um, I remember in the journey that they that the spirit made it a point to sort of really embed into me. And because it's into me, it's into all of us, right? Because we are all connected. Um, that we are genuinely always supported, that we're never alone, even when we think we are. Because there was a moment in the journey where I thought I was going to take my last breath. And um, that wasn't what was going to happen. So I don't want to scare anybody, but there was a moment in the journey where I remember saying to Spirit, I can't breathe. And I remember saying, I, I'm about to take my last breath. I'm afraid I'm not going to breathe anymore. And I remember I was kind of gasping, and I remember Spirit saying, then take your last breath. I said, I remember saying, I'm going to stop breathing. Spirit said, and stop breathing. So I was like, oh God. And so then I thought, okay. And I just, things in this life, like the people I loved, and even including my dog, like it all went through my head and all the things that like I haven't prepared or, you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take my last breath. And I took what I thought was going to be my last breath. And then the next second I was like, and I breathed really big again. And I heard Spirit say, see, I'm always right here. It's just but a second. I'm always right here. And that was pretty profound. That was pretty profound. And I remember feeling like in all the times I have felt so alone in my life, not lonely, but alone. It's worse, in my opinion, right? To feel ostracized or to feel so different that I just don't fit in anywhere and just alone on this planet sometimes. To just have completely let go and then been whispered into me. See, I've
Yeah.
always to know that I'm not alone, to know that I have never been alone, and to know that, you know what? Like, I finally have gotten to a space in my life of like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to fit in with everybody. My energy is really big. It's really unique. It's, I'm here to help thousands upon thousands of people. And I'm a whole lot of lotta, as a friend of mine would say. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not for everybody, and I'm not necessarily supposed to like fit in and just like, the way I always thought I was supposed to, or felt the rejection of others, or like, how come with friends this or people that? And I'm like, I feel different. Now I see like all the same experiences and all the same people and all the same, you know, friend groups or whatever. And I just think to myself, I love them so much. I wish them so much goodness in their life. And I love me too. And I will attract to the experiences and the people that I'm supposed to. And that was all very powerful because that's also been kind of a painful thing for me in my life. So to know that I have never been alone, and that
Hmm.
when I feel like I'm literally going to crash and burn, like, oh no, you're supported, you're loved, I'm here. Here's your next evolution, baby.
Hmm.
Wow, that's huge.
I'm curious, have you had any sessions? Have you done any sessions with anyone like Love Alchemy since your journey?
No, no, because the journey was just like a week and a half ago or something.
Right. Well, I was just curious because I was curious as to what might feel or be different for you in how I'm just so you'll have to keep me posted on the next session that you do because I really want to know how it feels, if it feels different, if it is different. Yeah, because I think, when you have recalibrated, which you have, it's going to be different. It's just going to be fun to hear like how it's different or, for you or the other person.
I think, yeah, it will be different because I'm so different now. And I had to take time for myself over these last couple of weeks because for me, was an enormous integration. Um, and I allowed myself the space because in the journey that I realized, wow, I've kind of walked through a lot of life with some trepidation and feeling like I had to tiptoe in certain areas and be careful of not taking up too much space. That's kind of how I grew up. So those kinds of things stay with you a little bit, no matter how much work you do. But now I feel like, wow, I have this like beautiful divine birthright to fill the space, to fill the space and be like the full expression of the divine living through me as me. And that is what I want to show people now. You are the divine, right? Embodiment of like source energy living as you through you, and how powerful we all are. And we genuinely are connected. We genuinely are made of one thread of energy, and we are all in different disguises, right? Whether we're the homeless person on the street or the most elevated person on the planet, we're made of the same material, and how important it is for us to reflect to one another the love that we are. And it's okay to get angry. It's okay to have all the feelings. It's okay to feel all the things, right? We're humans. We're supposed to feel the full spectrum, which is something that even though I'm a big feeler, as you said, I didn't know like I'd never felt safe like fully expressing anger, right? A lot of us are raised in households where you're not really allowed to express anger or be messy or be imperfect, right? Because then, consequences, all of that is gone. So, and there's more people in the world, more of us in the world who have gone through a journey, whatever it is, that brings you to the point of like your genesis of you as love and divinity and communion with something that is so extraordinary. And you get to now show that to other people and be that for other people. That is incredible. And I'm so excited now to do more alchemy in the world and to work with the vibration of love as I do. But I know because there's now more pathways open in my brain that the channeling is going to be even more than it ever was. And before it was a lot. Now there's more. And I have said to spirit, and I have, made a proclamation like, I'm ready. I'm here. Like, use me as your medium to continue to share more with the world. And I know that more opportunities will come because I'm ready now in a way that I never have been before.
Let's speak to what it is that you do. What is Love Alchemy so people know, and then how to find you.
Well, Love Alchemy is an incredible form of energy transformation, really, in where I am shown by the ascended masters and by many spiritual beings all of you, all of you, mind, body, spirit, energy, emotion, physicality. And I am shown the areas of a person that need to be sort of reintegrated in a new way. I'm shown fractures in a person's field in their body, and I'm shown what needs to happen in order for them to become whole again in a completely different way so that they can now embody the love that they are, the truth that they are, and so that they can move forward in their life in a different way, in a way that they've wanted to. And so Love Alchemy has evolved over the last decades because I was a Reiki master and still am of three different forms of Reiki. But as I kept doing this magic in the world, Spirit was channeling all different kinds of modalities through me, including personal messages, including it was just has been an evolution over decades. And one day I said, "What is this? This is not Reiki anymore. What are you having me do?" And the masters named it Love Alchemy. So alchemy is like a powerful form of real magic where you take something that was one way, do all kinds of amazingness with it, and then it's different. So basically, I act as a reflection for people's divinity and the divinity that they are. And then they get to feel whole in a different way and move forward in life in a different way after a session.
Which they can find out more at KarinRose.com, correct?
It's KarinRose.love.
Oh, dot love, right. KarinRose.love. I have to remember that because that's the difference. Dot love. But you're going to her information is going to be in the show notes or underneath this video, in case you forget to. KarinRose.love. Dot love. Dot love. Dot love. And she's available for sessions remotely and in person, I guess, but mostly remotely all over the world. So it doesn't matter where you live.
Yeah, I mostly work like 99.9% remotely because Spirit has asked me to do that because it's so limiting to just, I live in, the South Bay of California, like, right? So now I'm available worldwide and energy does not know distance. And it's like being with me in the room. We get to see each other and it's palpable.
Any last words that you have for people that are listening about either love alchemy or doing a journey or just this road of healing or even just what spirit wants anyone else to know that we haven't covered?
There's so much, but I'll just end with for anybody who, you know, has ever thought of doing a medicine journey or a plant journey, um, I really highly recommend JJ. There's a reason for this. She has decades of experience doing her own work, and JJ has always been in integrity for the decades of time that I've known her. So, one thing that I love about you, JJ, in terms of this journey and in terms of the mushroom that you have, is it's so pure. It's like the highest grade, the purest form, the highest quality. Um, and that was so important to me because I was kind of afraid, right? So if I'm going to do something or recommend something, I want the best of the best of the best when it comes to something like this. And because JJ has done it herself a few times and she knows this journey intimately and she knows this mushroom and where she sources it from intimately, it is such a safe journey to do with her. She's there with you every step of the way, every step of the way for all the hours that you are in journey. So I know that there's many people in the world doing medicine journeys. What I loved about yours is that it's one-on-one attention. And I don't think that there's anything like it. I personally would not have wanted to do this in a group. That's for me. Um, so I really can't say enough about this journey for people who just, if you feel called, trust the calling, trust the calling. It has really changed my life and it has genuinely changed my existence. So I'm ready to do more in the world in terms of love alchemy. I'm here for you. And it's an incredible experience to journey with the ascended masters and the archangels and the spiritual guides that come through to do incredible healing that's channeled through me as a vessel for you. And while I'm the healer, it has nothing to do with me being the healer. It's really me and your guides helping you activate what's already been in you that maybe has been a little bit asleep. And so, we all need help sometimes. We're in this physical expression and it's okay to need help. I go to people all the time, right? Because this physical expression can sometimes be, you know, you need some balance and it's okay to need help. But really, when you go to somebody, it's really about them activating what's already in you and the powerful being that you are. And it's really my honor and my pleasure to be a portal for this alchemy that channels through with the Ascended Masters.
Thank you for that. And I would actually recommend, I've had the experience recently of working with someone that has not really done any of the work with me before. And it is a little bit different. I'm going to need some more time with people. So I might recommend that anyone who's actually thinking about it and you've never done anything with me, see Karin first. Do a love alchemy session and get prepared because that is an important part of opening up what you are able to receive. If you haven't done a lot of work before, Karin's journey was the way that it was because of who she is and what she's attended to within herself and the care and the questioning and the integrity of self-care and self-love and being the vessel that she is on the planet. And other people have had amazing journeys also, right? But in my experience, especially with anyone that's done any of my programs or has worked with me for a while, the more you do, the more you get out of it. And so if you've never done anything and you think this is going to be like, and it could be transformational. I mean, there are tons of stories. You could watch How to Change Your Mind and learn about all the people who were dying of cancer and or had depression or they were addicts and they did a journey or they got on some microdosing and over a short period of time um, changed their brains and have now transformed that situation. But with me, I really want you to be prepared and ready and know that it's going to be a little bit more than just a 2 night kind of thing. There is some pre-work that has to happen, and there's 100% work that has to happen afterwards. Whatever you're shown has to be integrated. And I trust Karin in her integration, but I don't trust all of you or some of people to do their own integration because we're human beings. We don't push ourselves in a way that makes us uncomfortable. We often learn things or have an experience and then we kind of revert back because that's what the brain will do if we don't attend to it. So the integration process is really important. I've turned some people down who even have worked with me because I didn't feel like at the time when it was asked, they were no longer going to do anything. And I thought that didn't feel right because I know we're going to uncover a bunch of things that then need to be integrated into your daily life. And the brain needs to time to adapt and changes need to be made in order to keep these pathways open. You have to change the way you show up for yourself in many different ways. And again, it's faster than you're going to probably get in 20 years of therapy, but it still does need a lot more attention. So be ready. Have a session, at least one, if not more, with Karin before you come to me. If you've never done anything with me before, if you feel called to work with Karin, you can feel her love, you can feel her integrity. Please have a session or two or more with her before you come to me. I definitely want to help people, but I am in integrity when it isn't right or when I don't think you're ready to say no. This is not the right time. You need to prepare in a different way to get the maximum benefit and results from this. So even though we can't decide, right, the mushrooms are in charge. But and which is what I love too. I love surrendering because those of us that are, we're good producers, we're doers. we want to like take a break. Like someone else be in charge, please. So if you want to learn more, you know how to find KarinRose.love about Karin and JoJoFazanes.com for me. Thank you, Karin, for sharing your journey. I can't wait to hear about the sessions that happen in the future and how you're going to keep growing and blossoming and becoming that butterfly to help more people know their divinity and know their love. So thank you so much for being here. I love you.
I love you too, JJ. Thank you so much.